Movie trap. Howdy.
For years. Lucky. Lucky. How you doing?
Good to see you. Yeah, me too. Nice seeing you. Where you want to fit? Oh, yeah, he's a Wyke. Well, let's find you. Oh, I'm going to Victory family. Come on, let me know. Come.
I will be watching that on your Facebook page
Yeah.
a while back.
Yeah, we kind of lost all of our we're not going to be here, so my family and several of my family, so it's really a wonderful place. People there are just amazing. It's not, preacher just gives him just to be doing, yeah. That part design with my family and how's the music? Oh no, it's not. It's not like that. If it was, I probably would like it. It's very powerful. It's really good news. Oh yeah.
I saw him. He would ask about me and how I'm doing. Just a wonderful guy. So well, I'm going to hand this over to Mark.
We often try to remember, we don't always remember, but we try to remember each meeting. Take a moment and remember all the silent keys that we have. And this will also include Tom Seal. So, which we'll do a presentation here momentarily, but let's take a moment and remember all the silent keys in the entire area that we lost in the last month or two. But let's take a moment to remember them. Now, Mark Pine is going to do a presentation for Tom Salem. Kilo Hotel 6 Alpha Alpha Alpha. This is W5NOR net control. KH6 AAA. This is W5NOR. For your decades of service to the amateur radio community, for your unending efforts to assist your country in foreign service, and for the thousands of people who call you a friend. Kilo Hotel 6 Alpha Alpha Alpha, Tom Seal. You may be gone, but you will not be forgotten. All right, thank you, Mark. All right, this morning's presentation is by Jeff. N7AVG, like I said, he's very short on words, so you'll be able to tell really early. Full problem. They have a super knowledgeable on crossbanding. Should be a really good one. The problem is when guys like him come up here and present, they end up going home and spending money to get to do what these guys are doing. So anyway, yeah.
And I am selling Crossband. No. Well, it'll make me broadcast. This is. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you for being here. I know everybody's not going to be interested in pursuing crossbanding, but it's nice to know something about it. Many of you have already kind of experienced it, and so we're going to talk about it. You're a good looking group from up here, with some exceptions. So we get started. I'm Jeff, N7AVG. I got to show off my shirt today. My call sign is in honor of my father, who was a member of the American Volunteer Group, otherwise known as the Flying Tigers. In the beginning of World War II. The whole world will see this. And so I honor my father, and I'm glad that we had our tribute to Tom before I started to. It's a tough thing to follow because Tom was so near and dear to all of us. Here very recently, he called me in and gave me a who knows, my father may have actually used, so it meant a lot to me. And Tom was just a wonderful, wonderful man. He will not be forgotten. Okay, those of you who, I better use this, I'll get in trouble. Those who've heard me on the 06 repeater, the MacNet as it's known, know that I operate with Crossband. And A lot of you know what that is, some of you don't. So we're gonna talk about, what is crossband? Next slide, oh, there we go. Okay, the basic definition of crossband operation is a technique whereby a radio simultaneously receives on one frequency band while transmitting on another frequency band. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, anyone here ever used crossband? Wow, more than I thought. Okay. Anybody want to give some information about why they use crossband, how it, came in handy, or nobody?
Reception, like I couldn't get good reception on my house, and so I crossbanded with my mobile and my truck.
Yeah. Okay.
2 meter seemed to have better propagation than 72.
Do what?
2 meter seemed to have better propagation than 72.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So tactical operations, but they were
Uh-huh.
out in the field doing some search and rescue work.
Mhm.
My vehicle as I crossed over.
Yeah. So there's several different good reasons to use crossband. So hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll know more about it and you won't be confused about it. Next slide. Okay, so basically it's a method by which an operator can extend the range of a radio beyond the point which would normally be possible. I use it as a matter of convenience, and it allows me a lot of freedom to move around my house and yard without having to be directly tied to the radio in the ham shack. I live in an area of town that has, if I try to use my handheld, I get terrible reception and terrible transmission. So by using crossband, it allows me to bypass that problem. And it's really nice to be able to sit by the grill out in the backyard and carry on conversations. And when I'm mobile, crossband operation allows me to access repeaters through my mobile radio from indoor areas using my HT, which gives me reliable communication when it would not otherwise be possible. And just an example here, I've got a dual band HT. Everybody has one. Nothing special about this. But the radio out in my vehicle is set up for crossband operation. So what I do is I transmit on a UHF frequency to the radio in my car, and it does the crossbanding to VHF and allows me to talk from this indoor area, which might not otherwise be possible. N7AVG testing. So I knew Hal would answer. And it just comes in real handy to extend your range. Next slide. So crossband operation is pretty easy. It's certainly not the most challenging mode of communication. But it's very important to know the basics of proper operation. Otherwise, it would be very easy to go off the rails, causing interference to others or maybe even damaging your equipment. Next slide. For those of you who are familiar with crossband operation, sorry, I'm standing in front. You know that there's different methods of operating crossband, but for the sake of time and to prevent a lot of confusion this morning, I'm going to highlight the most often used technique, which is the method I use. And the reason I use it is because I'm in both a weak transmit and weak receive area. There are, like I say, other ways you can operate crossband. In fact, I have a method that I use that I can use my Kenwood TS2000 to crossband from UHF out to the HF frequencies, which is kind of neat. Again, sit out by the grill and talk on 40 meters or whatever, and use your handheld to change frequencies and stuff like that. So those are all things that, as you get into this topic, you can certainly discover, different ways to do the same thing. Next slide. Before we go any further, I need to address the key points concerning the legality of using crossband operation in the radio bands. Some people say it's, absolutely not legal and shouldn't be done, and I've had people, cross me with that, but according to the FCC, Part 97 regulations, crossband operation is permitted within the amateur radio service on authorized amateur radio frequency bands only. In other words, you cannot use the amateur bands to crossband to the business bands, GMRS, something like that. Your crossbanding has to be within the amateur radio frequencies. A control operator is required. So in the case of what I just demoed a minute ago, I am the control operator, obviously, and I have the ability to ensure that we're in compliance with FCC regulations. And if something goes wrong, I'm also able to shut down very quickly the transmitter in my vehicle that might be causing a problem. We can do things to prevent that from happening, which I'll get into here in a little bit. The FCC does require identification on all frequencies transmitted by the crossband station, which will include both the input and output frequencies. Obviously, on the input frequency, I'm identifying with my call sign, and the output frequency from the repeater obviously is retransmitting my signal, which is also identified, and then the repeater itself is identified by its own hardware. The control frequency must be within the 2 meter band or above. So when I'm using crossband, if I'm crossbanding to VHF, my control frequency will be on UHF. If I want to crossband to VHF or to UHF, my control frequency will be on VHF. The control frequency must be selected so as to avoid causing interference to other communication or signals. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. Okay, to ensure compliance with the FCC regulations, it's important to remember this. Crossband operation should only be attempted in a very localized area using the absolute lowest power possible on carefully chosen frequencies, which can be reasonably guaranteed not to cause interference. If you don't need to crossband, don't. It's best not to, because that will diminish the chances of causing interference to someone else. If you're in a good receive and transmit coverage area, then don't use crossband. There are some exceptions to that, but again, I won't get too far off into the woods. Next slide. If you decide you want to use crossband, you'll need to have a base or mobile VHF, otherwise known as dual band transceiver, capable of crossband operation. And many of you in here have radios that are already capable of crossband. You may not even know that, but your owner's manual should tell you. And the procedure for setting it up is really quite easy. There are some particulars that we're going to get into here. I use the Anytone AT5888 UV. It's been on the market for many years and it's still available. I've never had an ounce of problems with it. And I use one at home and mobile. It operates seamlessly with no delay or degradation in transmit or receive audio. In other words, if I don't tell you I'm operating crossband, you would never know. Now, some radios aren't quite that good. There is a little bit of a delay. For instance, if you're transmitting from your handheld, the radio on the other end might take just a second to go into the transmit mode, into crossband mode. And also, when you stop transmitting and it goes into the receive mode, there may be a short delay. My radio does not do that. I do have another radio that does have a slight delay, and so I try to avoid using it. You can use pretty much any dual band HT for transmit to and receive from your base radio. Next slide. Okay, so clear as mud. I'm going to show you how the crossband mode works, and hopefully the explanation will clear up most of your questions. If not, we can address them later. And this presentation will be available by stars in at least a couple of different places here. If you want to jot down my email address, there it is. And I'm more than willing to answer questions. And but the email is the best way to do that. That way I can kind of get to it as I have time. There's also instructional videos on YouTube, but be careful, as most of them will leave out some very important points that you will need to know. And it's really interesting because I have looked at lots of those videos on YouTube. And it strikes me that for some reason, people who claim to know a lot about crossband and using it do leave out a couple of very, very important things. And I'll explain those things. Next slide. Okay. Notice this down here. Don't steal the work because it carries the same penalty as tearing the tag off your furniture.
What software package you use for that?
This? That's hand drawn. Yeah. That's OCD.com. Do we have a pointer?
Yeah, I got it right here. No, actually.
No.
Oh.
Well, tech people. And, oh, how about that, David? You're hired.
That's on the bottom.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, does everybody see that little red dot there?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's amazing how big these, it's first program I've ever put together using PowerPoint. And when you're doing it on a screen this big, then you see it here, it looks pretty cool. Okay, so we're gonna start with our UHF VHF, otherwise known as Crossband HT. And what you're gonna do is you have another radio that's set up as your crossband radio. You transmit from your HT to that radio. And this frequency here, from the transmitter to the receiver and the transmitter of the base radio back to your handheld, that's the same frequency. Now, in some cases, it doesn't have to be, but we're not going to get into that. We're going to talk about using the same frequency. In my case, as I demoed here, I'm using UHF transmit to UHF receive, UHF transmit to UHF receive, same frequency. Here's where it gets important. And this is one of the things that the videos on YouTube don't tell you. On your transmit and your receive, you have to use a unique PL or DCS. If you don't know what a PL is, those of you who listen to our repeater, it identifies as W5NOR tone 141.3. Okay. that is the PL tone that the repeater uses. And what that basically is, it's like the key to your house, okay? You have the key to your house. That's your PL tone. That's what unlocks your house. The PL tone is what opens up the repeater. Without it, you can't access the repeater. There's a very important reason why we use PL tones on repeaters and otherwise. And mainly it's to cut out interference. Because if you don't use a PL tone, we'll go back here. If I don't use a PL tone here, or a DCS, which is a digital coded squelch, it's the same thing as a PL, except it's a digital format. If I don't use one here and here, then this is completely open. And anybody who might inadvertently get on this frequency, and we'll expand on this a little bit later, if they get on this frequency and they don't know that you're using it for crossband and you're not using a PL, then this radio is going to pick that up, and this radio is going to transmit whatever that interfering station is doing. If you have a PL, that will lock that interference out. Unless, of course, that person has, and this has happened to me one time, diligently tried to figure out what PL tone you're using for the purpose of interference with your crossband system. That happened to me one time. I found out who it was. We took care of it.
I'm sorry. It won't
Hasn't happened again. And, yeah, you're still on the payroll so far. No, it was, it's not important to go into it further because the person, didn't do it again. They were just kind of curious as to, if they could get into the system. This is one reason why we not only use a PL tone, but as I mentioned in a previous slide, we try to make this as localized as possible. I'm transmitting from here to my vehicle, which is parked, 50 feet away. You don't want to use crossband like you would use a wide area repeater. It's just dangerous to do that. Can it be done? In certain cases it can be, but you're opening yourself up for problems, and that's. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I standing in front of that all the time? Yeah, I've been. Okay, so then this radio here will transmit, in this case on VHF, out to the SCARS repeater, which is VHF, and we use the tone that's used for the repeater. We use that to transmit into the repeater. You don't have to have a PL from the transmitter of the repeater back to the receiver here, because I don't believe, maybe Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, our repeater doesn't transmit a PL tone, does it?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So if you were to use a PL tone on your receiver here, you would essentially lock out the signal from the repeater because it's not transmitting a tone. So no tone here. Absolutely use a tone here. Is this making sense, basically? Okay, next slide. Okay, this is very important. Probably one of the most important things we'll talk about, and that is the choice of frequencies. There's charts online which detail VHF simplex and UHF simplex frequencies, which can be used for the input and output of your crossband base radio and HT. Do not use the calling frequencies of 146.52 or 446. There have been people who use those for crossband operations. Not a good thing. Whichever frequency you choose, remember that you use the absolute lowest power level you can to operate your system successfully. To expand on that a little bit, this radio here, it's one of the neat things about crossband too. You can use your HT on ultra low power and your battery will last forever. And you still have enough power to transmit from here to your crossband radio. And vice versa, on your crossband radio, the base radio, if you will, you use a low power setting to transmit back to your HT. That way, if you're in an area where, you know, just, you never know, there's so many, there's quite a few simplex frequencies that are available for use, but with the proliferation of hotspots and all this other stuff that's going on, especially on UHF, you never know when the frequency that you pick might actually be something that somebody else is using. That brings into, brings up another point. Mark, can you go back to the diagram of the picture? Yeah. You notice that I'm using a PL or DCS here, but I'm not using one on receive. The reason is, and this is also part of staying FCC compliant, you have to be able to monitor the frequency that you're using, because it's possible that if somebody were to drop in on that frequency, you would probably want to know about it. And in most cases, you know, it's not going to happen. I've only had it happen to me a couple of times. One of them was on purpose, but if you have the ability to monitor the channel that the frequency that you're using, then if something does drop in on it, then you'll know about it. And then at that point, it's probably not a good idea to use your crossband system, because when you transmit, you're also going to be transmitting the signal that your radio is receiving on your frequency. And if your signal is strong enough, you know, it may or may not be an issue, but it could be an issue. We've all heard, you know, stations double when they're checking into the net and stuff. And you know how bad that sounds. A lot of times you can't hear one or both of the stations because they're interfering with one another. FM transmissions have a habit of doing that. So, important rule of thumb, make sure. Now, if you were to use a PL on the receive, most radios have the ability, you know, like this one here, I can, by pressing this button, I can open up my squelch, and it would enable me to listen to this frequency. And if I heard something on there, I probably don't want to go ahead and use my crossband until we reconcile the problem. It is much easier to find an empty frequency on UHF than it is on VHF. So in the case here, what I'm doing, where I'm transmitting into the SCARS repeater, which is in this case VHF, I'm using UHF frequencies here, or UHF frequency, and the choice of UHF simplex frequencies is pretty vast. But again, you have to, if you pick a frequency, it's best maybe to, if you install it in your radio, maybe listen for a little while, you know, from time to time, make sure that something is not inadvertently interfering. These hotspots that are using UHF input frequencies and stuff, generally those are of a very local nature, and the people are also using low power. So, I mean, I've never had one interfere with me, but again, just important to choose the frequency wisely so that you don't have any problems. Okay, go ahead, Mark.
2 ahead or 1?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, we're here. So, use the absolute lowest power level you can operate. You can't operate your system successfully. That will help ensure you don't cause interference to others. No PL or DCS should be used on your HT receive. That way you have a better chance of hearing any signal which might be using the frequency you have chosen. If you think you might be causing interference, shut down your base station, your crossband radio, until you can resolve the issue. Here, oh, Denny will remember this, last year or whatever, we had a situation where one of our club members, I'm gonna mention any names here because it was complete accident and he realized the mistake, but he was trying to operate crossband and he wasn't using the PL that I just discussed. And so the system was basically interfering with itself and causing the whole system to lock up. So the SCARS repeater was locked up and it took us a little while to figure out what was going on. We did. And the person who was, you know, doing it on accident was fully aware of it and he's no longer with us, is he?
No,
Yeah. But no, he apologized up one side and down the other, and it was a complete honest mistake, but it's one of those things that's avoidable if you use the PL on your HT for transmitting and to and from your crossband radio. The choice of PL or DCS code is up to you. There's numerous choices available and the charts are online. There are a lot of choices for different PL frequencies. There's a lot of choices for different DCS codes. The thing that you probably don't want to do is not use the 141.3. That is the PL code that is most usually used, and not all the time, but most usually used on local repeaters. And some people, even in the programming of their radios, even on simplex frequencies, they tend to go ahead and program in that PL, which is not needed, but they do it. And so they have that PL installed. And if you're using that PL on your handheld or the receive side of your crossband radio, then they're going to inadvertently cause interference with you. So like I say, there's a big choice of different PL tones you can use. I don't think it really matters. I've tried several different ones, never had any problems with any of them. But now on your transmit downlink to the repeater, obviously you want to use the PL that the repeater uses, which in the case of the SCARS repeater is 141.3. So on in that drawing, you remember the radio that was up here transmitting to the repeater. You want to have that PL installed in your transmitter so that you can get into the repeater. One thing that might be considered to be a negative about Crossband, the version of Crossband that I use, is that you have to let the repeater drop before you can. Like if I'm transmitting on my handheld. Okay. N7AVG testing. If I transmit and the repeater is in use, not gonna work. Repeater has to drop before you can transmit into it. There is a way to crossband in a different way that's not necessary, but we get off into the weeds there, and it's a little more complicated, and you have to be in an area where you have a really good receive signal. In my case, you know, I don't have a good receive signal, so I don't use that version of Crossband. But again, use low power, really the lowest that you can use, from your handheld to your crossband radio, from your crossband radio back to your handheld. Use low power, the lowest you can use. That's not going to give you a problem because you're supposed to be using it in a localized area, and so you'll have enough power, and that will prevent, in most cases, you interfering with somebody. From the output of your crossband radio to the repeater, you can use whatever power is necessary to get into the repeater. But it's also a good rule of thumb, you know, it's good amateur radio practice to, whether you're using crossband or not, only use the amount of power that you need to use. You know, with repeaters, especially if you're using an outside antenna, you don't need much power at all to get into the repeater.
2,000 watts is out.
And that brings me to a discussion of Mark's amplifier. Which, by the way, the FCC is completely aware of. I made sure. So yeah, use low power. I was talking with Billy back there a little while ago about, you know, even on the HF bands and stuff, people get on there and they think they gotta use, you know, 1,500 watts and to communicate. You know, if that's your thing, that's your thing. As long as you stay within the legal limit, that's fine. But one of probably the biggest things about ham radio that people haven't learned is use the lowest power you can use to do what you can do. Billy has recently been having a lot of fun on his HF radio, and a lot of you know, operate FT8 and modes like that that just don't require a lot of power. Now, some people use a lot of power, but I think eventually they probably hear about it, don't they? Because there's splattering and all that other stuff. But so anyway, low power, localized area. Did you have something for the class,
I
Mark?
was pointing at Clayton because he's the 200-watt king of FDA.
Well, I think even 200 watts is lower than what I heard some people use. Okay, so next slide, and I think we might be about ready to wrap it up. Yep. Okay, questions, comments? Yes, sir.
Yeah, so you've got your base state rig at your ham shack set up for crossband, because I'm walking around and handy talking. I walk into there, can I pick up the mic of my base rig and just use it like a normal one, or do I have to take it out of crossband?
You have to take it out of crossband. Yeah. Yeah, and it's, like I say, on every radio I've ever looked at, it's a very, very simple process. But that's a good question. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay, I've tried crossbanding a few times, and directly going into the repeater, it's been fine. Ed Hatch knows what I'm talking about here. And it seems to always work fine. There's a little bit of delay. I also have an Anytone UV. It's the tri-band version of that. It does have a little bit of a delay. I may talk to you about that later. The problem is when I tried to do it like 2 times on the net, it has created, I'm sure you guys may remember this, it sounds like War of the Worlds, Alien, whatever. And it did that, I'm like, what the heck? And as soon as I killed it on the Crossband, I was like, if that's me, I'm gonna, it stopped it. So
Yeah.
I've done that a few times, I'm embarrassed that I did, I'm a new hand, so I'm just, learning all this, but have you ever experienced that? And I do have a PL tone, I've got, I think everything's set. But
Well, if you're using a PL tone on your HT transmit
yes,
and your crossband receive.
Okay.
You shouldn't have that problem. How much, are you using a lot of power out on the base radio?
no, not, like, cause I can, the biggest thing is I can get it with low power on my mobile. But where I am in the house, it's not strong enough to hit the computer. And so that's the whole reason I didn't.
Right.
So and it's only happened when we were on the MacNet. It
Yeah.
did not happened other times with you. So that's what same exact setup. So that may be an individual.
Yeah, it sounds to me, I mean, because that can happen if you don't use a PL. Because what happens is radios are affected by what we call intermodulation. And so a signal on VHF, it might, if you look at the harmonics, even up at UHF, the frequency you're using to transmit to your crossband radio, you might have interference. But if you're using a PL, that should not be an issue. However, that's to say, it still can. I would suggest that you try a different UHF frequency on your HT, because if your UHF frequency is a multiple of the VHF transmit frequency, then you may as well have somebody sitting there transmitting on your UHF frequency. It's going to be picked up here when you transmit, and the signal in that case is going to be strong enough to cause the War of the Worlds thing that you're hearing. So try selecting a different UHF frequency. When I have used my crossband to transmit on UHF, I'm using a VHF frequency here. And I have had situations where the system kind of folds back on itself until I select a different frequency, and then the problem goes away. But that's also another reason to use the lowest power that you can possibly use. And that includes your crossband radio transmitting to the repeater. Use the lowest power that you can use there, because if you're using an outdoor antenna, which you probably are on your base radio, that signal could be strong enough. If you're using high power, that signal could be strong enough to wrap back around and give you interference on your HT. So try that. And if you have questions, we can experiment and find out what the issue is. There's always an answer. Yes.
So PL versus VCS, so many repeaters that I see in the area are all PL tones, I see very few VCS. Any comments, if you're trying to get one people aren't gonna hop on, I would think go to VCS. Any comments, strengths and weaknesses of both systems?
David, it's all your choice on what you use between your HT and your base radio.
Right.
That's Crossband. There are times when you'll select, especially a PL. Because PL is what we call analog. Some vocal frequencies actually interfere with PL tones. I don't know if any of you have ever heard it. Have you ever been listening to the SCARS repeater and somebody will be talking and all of a sudden you hear that boop, boop, boop? Well, what's happening is the repeater, because the repeater is controlled by DTMF tones, which are analog, that person's voice for just a second fakes the repeater into thinking that it's receiving a control tone. So, you know, that there's such a wide variety of PL tones, you can just, you know, kind of experiment with it, but, and different voices, you know, different. I remember with Tom, KH6AAA, there was several times when I would hear him talking on the repeater and we get that just momentary interruption. And that's what's being caused by it. So in that case, a digital coded squelch, DCS, might be a better choice. But as some of the people in here can attest to, there's also times when DCS can be interfered with. So I myself, I stick with PL, okay? And I've never had any issue with it, but it's totally up to you what you want to use. You know, there's a lot of those codes available. And to be honest with you, DCS is probably a better choice if you want to, like in the case where somebody was purposely interfering with my system, they knew I was using PL. So they basically went through and experimented with different PLs until they hit gold. And then,
Or they used an app on their phone to determine which one it was.
yes, which, yeah, and even scanners. Scanners will, you know, you can be scanning a signal and boom, it'll tell you exactly what the PL or DCS is. So basically, you know, you just have to rely on people's ethics, which in 99.999% of the time, we're fine there. Nobody is gonna purposely interfere, but when they do, it ain't fun. Who had their hand up first? Go ahead.
I was curious if, you know, if you had like 6 neighbors and if you actually gave them the PL tone, is there any problem with them all using your crossband base to reach the repeater? You know, with your permission, they can, without having to set up their own crossband base?
If you have neighbors that you trust and
Don't move.
have like a reverse mortgage on their home, something you can use, you know, as a death ray if they create problems. Yeah, I mean, but the basic thing is remember, they're using your station. So you are responsible as the control operator.
So it is legal to do that.
I think that's kind of a gray.
Well, take it out of the context of being your neighbors.
Yeah.
You're in a field situation.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people out there in the field with handy talkies.
Yes.
And you set up a crossband
Uh-huh.
for them to reach a distant repeater, that's legal, they can all go through that base without them owning that crossband base.
So
Right,
you still have
but-
the capability of deactivating the device.
But you are still part of that system at that time. And you basically, because it's your equipment, are responsible to make sure that you have control over the system.
That brings up another question.
Yeah.
In order to save the wear and tear on your crossband base, can you set up the system where all the handy copies will reach the distant repeater through your crossband? But if you have a strong enough receive, you can have them receive directly from the distant repeater without your crossband base retransfer.
Well, and that was part of the weeds I didn't want to go into, but you get the point. Yeah, it's very possible to set up if you have an HT that has dual watch, you can set it up so that you're transmitting on UHF into the repeater. And then you are actually listening to the output of the repeater on your radio. Now, I will tell you, because I have tried that, and really the only successful way to do it is if you're using a headset. Because you got a dual watch radio that you're transmitting on, but it's also listening to the repeater that you're coming out of. So if you're not using a headset, that can cause some problems with your handheld, because you're basically transmitting and receiving at the same time. So you have to be careful with that. But in that case, you don't have to wait for the repeater to drop. But, you know, it's one of those things. I don't use that method, Dean, because I don't have a strong enough receive signal to be able to do that. But
Jeff, to follow up.
Yeah.
As one of the guys in the room that takes all the phone calls from bad installations of this. Remember, and who has Riley Hollingsworth, the FCC liaison to amateur radio on speed dial. Remember that link that you see transmitting from the crossband to the HT must be ID'd with your call sign. And I say that because we haven't heard Jeff's call sign, but we've heard 3 transmissions. So it needs to go out, and I'm sure what he's gonna tell me is it's Morse code with no PLI, no PL, which didn't turn on the radio. So you are absolutely legal. Is that what you're gonna say? Yes, that's what you're gonna say. It's being recorded. Yes.
yeah, it's,
But you need to have that output saying your call sign. That's what Dean, if your neighbors are doing it, your call sign's going out with their transmissions. And if that's a trouble,
Well, when
that's why you'll
they
get calls.
use it and they use their own call sign.
No, it's gonna use your call sign. This radio up top has to have your call sign transmitting. When is it? Every 10 minutes, at the end of the conversation.
Well, I thought he was saying, by him saying it, he's.
Nope.
well,
Because we heard 3 transmissions.
Now, wait a minute, he just.
well, now
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go there, because this is, Mark is technically, he is right, but
No, but
when I'm using my crossband, when I transmit, I'm identifying. And when I go into the repeater system and I am talking to someone who's using my call sign to identify me, basically that signal coming back through my crossband radio transmitter to my HT is identifying that frequency that I'm using.
no, it's not.
Yeah, I see.
Because it
what
just
Mark's
ID
saying.
now with somebody else keying their transmitter.
Yeah,
And you did not send a transmission.
If you're just listening on
Right.
crossband.
Yeah.
And we know this
Yeah.
because we've had these calls.
I know, and that is also one of the reasons why I stress and have stressed over and over.
Don't get caught.
Don't use any more power than you absolutely have to.
What will happen is somebody will hear that UHF in really crappy audio in their location. They will then call the repeater trustee, which is Ed, and chew him out and say, I don't have a UHF portion of that. Who will then call me as a section manager. And I'll call Worsey and say, what did you put a repeater on there? And Larry's gonna go, well, we don't have a repeater. Now we have to find the bad guy, and then we call Riley.
Yeah, and these are valid, these are valid points, and you have to take these things into
So,
consideration.
what you're saying is, for his crossband base to be legal, it needs to digitally identify, just like the distant VHF repeater does.
Correct.
Yeah,
But nobody does that on crossband.
Everybody does that on crossband, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody.
No.
Because that's
Yeah.
the problem with crossband, people don't do that, and it gets guys like Ed a lot of phone calls, because Margaret's gonna go, what the heck? How come the 06 is now on the UHF? Oh my gosh, this is crazy. And Ed's gotta go, oh my God, go look it up, and he can't hear it at his house. Cause the bad guy lives 10 miles away. He has to drive around the whole city to go find it.
Yeah,
And then that's what he was thinking.
So based on all that, I'm assuming your crossband, the radios that are designed for crossband are also set up where you put your call sign in there and it will do the IDing properly, or is there something you have to add to it?
no, I will tell you that there's only one radio that I have. That
There's an example.
What's that?
yeah, my TS 2000 that crossbands to HF. The TS 2000 is made to actually identify the UHF frequency coming back to me, or whatever crossband frequency I'm using. And so, yeah, these are valid points. They're very valid points, and that's why it's important to, like I said, if you don't need to crossband, don't. If you do, use a very localized, very low power, and
Davey's got a question. Davey's got a question.
yeah, go ahead, sir.
Jeff, when you first started out, you talked about sitting in your grill. Explain to me why you would do that unless you had your transmitter was, let's say, 50 watts. And your handheld was 5 watts. But let's say both of you could reach the repeater had no 2 miles away. Why would you ever use crossband in that situation?
You wouldn't, that's why I'm saying, and if you, in that case, the only reason I do that is because from my handheld,
We can't reach it.
I can't reach the repeater without, you know, sounding terrible. And then the repeater coming back to me, you know, it's like,
Yeah, I was just trying to.
and so, yeah. But if I could just use my HT by itself, I would, and it wouldn't be a problem. I think there was another.
He's online.
Oh,
He's on Zoom.
who, when, how?
DV,
Steve.
my DTV. Dave.
Oh, Davey, how about, man, they let you out. Yes, David.
Hey,
You have a
can you
question?
hear me okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. I've been using that 446.0.
I think you're
Could that be,
muted, Davey,
huh?
which is not a bad thing.
It's not. There's where you came from that.
Okay, anybody read lips?
I shouldn't be muted.
Maybe put it in chat.
Can you type it? Type it in the chat.
Okay, hang on, give me a minute. Let me figure this out.
And I'm running out of time. I'm gonna be earning steak here in a minute.
4 minutes, 46 seconds, you're good.
Okay. I have a question. I have an answer.
He's married, Davey.
Yeah, we can call. Okay. Well, so that's Davey. In Ada, I would assume. Maybe if you can hear me, we're not hearing you. So you need to
Okay.
unmute or
Type it in.
type it in.
Oh.
Somebody's hearing your audio. Okay, I've been using 446. Now, we'll quit doing that. Yeah. Don't do that. Could that be, well, quick answer, and then we'll wrap this up. Do not use, because that's the national calling frequency, 446.000. And likewise on VHF, 146.520. So, go online, pick yourself another, simplex frequency, David. And I'm not gonna recommend a frequency That's totally unique to your setup and totally unique to your, system there, but if you wanna talk with me about it later, you know, I can help you choose.
If you have issues and whatnot, you can call them BR 549.
Yeah, yeah. Any last minute, quick question? No, that's. Okay, well, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for, putting up with my illegal operations.
Oh, you're doing it correctly. You documented it.
Yeah. And, I'll be leaving the club.
Thank you. All right, it's got my thing here at 10:40 by this clock up here. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay.
Now can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they couldn't hear me, so I think I figured it out.
I could hear you earlier too.
Oh, you could?
Yeah. I sent a message to Mark.
Technology is great when it works.
Yeah, I'm hearing Ada.
Hopefully they get it fixed when I have to read the minutes. Otherwise, one of them's going to have to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's terrible about Tom.
It kind of shocked me because I just saw him leave VE session Thursday before the board meeting. I didn't get a chance to talk, unfortunately, but it shocked me.
Yeah, me too. Damn mosquitoes. Them things are out for vengeance. Yeah. Yeah, my wife, she's got to have a total hip replacement Thursday.
Ooh.
So, and I've been working up at the school, which is a block and a half away. So I've been driving the golf cart to work.
That makes it easy.
Yeah, who says you have to have $100,000 Tesla?
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents planned a trip for the grandkids out here to Jellystone and Eufaula, so we're out here today.
for the farm.
No, we're losing your connection, Davey.
I lost it. Wow. Oh, hell. What happened? That was I guess I lost him here. Let me my picture back up there. There we go. There's my mug. Now I can see me.
Peter, K5 COI.
Jason, N7PRD.
And you're a guest with Denny, right?
Yeah.
It's good to have you here. Kenny?
WA6DKD, Eastern Connecticut.
I'm from Tucson, I'm stuck living in Connecticut.
J5, Billy.
KJ5, HFN5.
Dean, K6, IPL. 5K and 5 NPV.
Mark, KI5, CNC. KI5, UK.
David, KI5, Q9F.
Margaret, KJ5, FQH.
Lauren and 6CLA.
And 0
He doesn't have it.
I'm glad you're here. I was trying to make him uncomfortable, I guess. All right, Bill.
Are we all?
We're done.
Bill, AE5F. L, AE5L. Larry, W5LHG. Rodney, KF5UZA.
Aubrey, KF5 DJH.
Ken, K8WGE. Jim, AG42.
Jim, K9 OSU.
David, K5SRH.
DJ5 CHD.
Bob, KF5 TBG.
Mary, no call sign, but known as the shake.
She is waiting for the handshake class. She has let me know, I haven't forgotten.
James, K5 LXB.
Hold on, KJ5 DWO.
Rob, KP3 BCU.
Yeah, KJ5.
KP5 IJ. Good, K5 with DKD.
David, K0BF.
K5 ITR. Rob, N5 ATG.
Kerry, KJ5 FCP. Galen, WX5 MOR.
Bing, November India 5 Golf.
Hank, K5,
All right, online, we got Stephen, KB5, BYV. Let's see, hey, Davey, KD5, DTD. I'm waving, there we go. Chris, KD5, JZN. Mike, KB5, HXT, and Dave, KI5, UQU. Thank you, everybody, for being here today.
Is it maybe HXT's birthday? Did I see? Yeah.
Mike, KB5, HXT. Congratulations, it's your birthday.
Our present is we won't sing.
He's ignoring us now. Well, if it's your birthday, happy birthday, Mike.
Happy birthday.
All right, I'm gonna get it over here with Mark. Wait, he's gonna give us a field day report.
Well, the field day this year went as planned, and it was a good field day. We did CW phone and digital. The goal was to make as many contacts as possible. Basically, field day is an emergency preparedness setup. It's not a contest, even though they make it that way. But we did good. We set up a lot of different, we set up our antennas and rigs and it worked good. As far as the totals, preliminary totals, what we have now, and I'd like to thank Mark Klein for putting this together on that. He the best section manager you could have, putting this stuff together and getting it sent off. So, CW, they had a total of 323 contacts. Digital had 282 contacts, and phone had 212, for a total of 817, which was really good.
I don't know why we're hiding the CW way out.
And what we got out of this is 26% of it was 40 meter, 72% was 20 meter, and 2% of it was 15 meter. So even with the solar activity, we didn't do too bad, 40, 20, 15. And that's what we really tried to cover. Now, I can also tell you that we worked 70 of the 71 ARRL sections.
Wow.
We only missed out on the Virgin Islands. So that's a big plus. We also worked 10 of the 14 Canadian sections. So that's not bad. And Canada participates with us in field day. And
That's across all those.
yes. And that, I would say that we had a very successful field day. I'd like to thank everybody that participated in it and helped as far as setup and takedown. The guys who took care of us on the food was great. We look forward to next year. We look, and I can tell you, this little statistic was put in here for me. Thanks a lot. That way they throw stuff at me, but I would like to tell you that Field Day 2026 is June the 27th, 28th, which is only 351 days out. So we need to go ahead and start thinking of that next year. And we'll get together, we'll get a group of us together that participated in it and so forth, and come up with things we want to change, things we want to add, better ways to improve it, because we really need to show the rest of the state what this club can do as far as field day and setups. And I think in the long run, we did that. Now, one other thing I'll mention, I'm gonna work on getting all the numbers from all the clubs throughout the state, so I can give you kind of an update of how we did against all the other clubs in the state, and how they did and what they did as far as, CW Digital and SSB. And if they did anything else different than what we did, or bands, I'll give you that information, but I'm gonna compile all that, and then in a future day, I'll come back and give you that. Yes.
Two questions. Number one, how many people do we have participate? I know at one time the sign-in sheet had about 50 or so.
Documented with about 60 to 70, probably ballpark of 90.
And the second question is, how do our contact numbers rank us in terms of what we did last year?
We beat,
I don't know.
if I remember correctly, we beat last year pretty good. Yes, across all the bands, across all the different modes we did. We really blew it away this year on CW compared to last year. There was some.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, so we had some issues last year, but they did a lot better. All the modes did better this year, actually, so.
How many hours did, CW didn't run the full?
Yes, he did.
Oh, did it?
Yes, they did. See, the advantage we had this year over last year is we had more people participating at night. So that 24-hour period, we kept it moving, we kept going. And that made a big difference, and we need to continue that. I mean, if you're a night owl, we need you for field day, because that made a big difference to keep all those running. And yes, it's busy at night. There's a lot of people out there on there at night, because actually the conditions were better at night than would have been during the day. So we need more people to participate at night. And we can actually do better than we did this year, next year. Thanks.
Thank you, Mark. And Mark, can you unmute Chris? Chris, you want to go with the secretary's minutes, please?
All right. Can y'all hear me okay?
Hang on just a second, Chris. I bet the Zoom guys can hear you, but we can't.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. So last month we had 41 members in person and 3 on Zoom. Minutes were read by the secretary. Treasurer's report was read by the treasurer, and reported $1,779.30 in checking, $26,179.46 in savings, $89.72 in petty cash, for a net loss of the month of $114.78. VE report was 4 new technicians. Core ARRL, they discussed the all ham dinner in May, had over 60 attendees with plenty of good discussion. Oklahoma City Hamfest coming up at the end of July. Available tickets are on hamholiday.com. And Tim Duffy is the speaker for the banquet on Friday. Tech committee said the repeaters were up and running just fine. Under new business, field day was discussed with all of the planning afterwards. Program was Mesh-tastic by Dwayne Angles. And under announcements, overnight Tuesday from 6:30 to 9 at Fire Station 7. And with that, the meeting ended at 11:16.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. Larry, treasurer's report.
Okay. For this time of year, we did quite well. In June, we had a net gain of 701. That does not reflect any of the field day expenses. They are still coming in. And I might have one, but
Hold the microphone up a little closer.
and then in checking, we have $1,865, savings $26,179, and $70 in petty cash. Is there any other questions?
What's that?
I said we'll have it in the
Oh, okay. I don't have it. Do you want to announce that? When we get to it?
We'll do it.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Ed, not the horse. Treasurer's, meeting report and technical committee.
Don't ask me to count my feet. Mark, you got the page up. Meeting report, we've had 2 sessions since our last time. We actually had field day, in which case we had Todd Snyder who upgraded to general. Is Todd here today? I believe so. Was he? Todd, how you doing?
I thought I saw it.
Well done, Todd.
Yay.
Elizabeth also upgraded to general. And then on the July 3rd session, Elizabeth, you here? I'm always missing people, I'm sure. And Kyle Phillips upgraded to general, and Margaret, congratulations. Our next test session is on holiday, which is a busy time, so please pre-register if you're going to, because it's crazy. And then August 7th again for our usual monthly test session.
All right, thank you, Ed. Mark. We'll do the Cora and ARRL report.
Oh, my. Yes. Yes, Cora is a Central Oklahoma easy for me to say. Central Oklahoma Radio Amateurs Group. We're a club of clubs. 6 different clubs in Oklahoma City meet together to put on a Ham Fest in Oklahoma City, which is coming up July 26th, 27th, which is what it was. 26. Whatever it was, 20, yeah, whatever. 25, 26, say you're right. 25, 26, Friday, Saturday, a couple weeks at Oklahoma City Community College. That group also does a whole lot of community service stuff. We organize the hams for marathon. We got probably 7 years old hams for that marathon. Parades in Stocktown, Edmond, Middale. I think what else is there? There's a ton of stuff that's happening at that core group. All the clubs get together and mix their ideas and needs, and it's worked out really well for all of us. So if you want looking for a place to go serve and that's available. That's at Cora OK, CORAOK.org. If you want to go see that. Hamfest coming up in July. ARRL is going to their semi-annual board meeting, which means there's always chaos coming up for the next month, but ARRL is still trucking along. If you're a member, you're getting access to the 4 greatest newsletter or news magazines in the amateur radio community. If you haven't looked at them online, they're all 4 are there for you for free. If you need help getting onto them, let me know, we'll take care of it. That's all at ARRL.org. After that is after Hamfest, we're looking at September for Enid, Oklahoma is going to be doing their Hamfest up in Enid at the 20th, brand new place last year for us up there. Neat fairgrounds kind of activities. So look for a nice cool day and make sure that. Our Cora group, which we're a member of, is doing the Hamfest in Ardmore coming up in October. It will be the same game as the OU Texas game. And I've heard that Joe Castiglione has resigned because he's worried about the, ratings from our conference degrading the OU Texas game.
Bring him on.
And that might hurt his salary cap for the next year, so if he retires now, he can get out before that funding is hurt. That's what I've heard, or I haven't heard that. But it will be down there in Ardmore, just like always, that one is growing and doing well for us, down in that area. Lots of places to serve if you want to get involved with amateur radio. Give me a contact if you wish, info@hcr Anything else? Cora or Elmer night? Tuesdays, Elmer night, this place is hopping on Tuesday nights with Elmer nights. If you have a problem with the crossband repeater stuff, maybe we can talk to Jeff and now he's not having to get up at 4 in the morning anymore, the next couple of weeks.
I don't crossband.
Oh, no.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Formerly known as crossbanding. So if you have questions, feel free to holler. Somebody here will answer, or we'll call them on the phone and say, get over here. But we've I don't know, 30, 40, 50 between the online and here, pretty much every week. Margaret's cookies go fast, so if you want to get a cookie, you gotta come early. Mike has access to the quarter wave antenna. And are you doing anything specific, or just if you want to build one, come see you and bring $10? And a note from your parents saying it's okay? That'll get going. Those were pretty popular. You made what?
We've done in the cabinet here.
10 or so over the week or over field day, which was kind of fun.
I can tell you that those antennas work really good. If you listen to the Magnet in the morning with Denny, he's using one.
Well, $10 antenna works out pretty well. What else we got? Anything fun you gonna do? Ed, you wanna do the siren net? Or you wanna do it?
It's not my answer today.
What are you going about that?
You're still debating? I think they're all debating.
Ranger, this period.
SirenNet, first, the quick update for today is we're all in wait mode. Showers are starting to flow around the area, so I think we're probably gonna be waiting until close to noon.
Bizzle and I are still texting.
Okay, so as soon as we hear a decision, we will send out a message. I don't know.
Actually, it was my turn, but when did I switch?
God didn't figure it out.
So you guys online, y'all probably can't hear this, they were asking if it was Margaret's day to do the siren net, because it always rains on her day, so that's what everybody's laughing at.
And it's also true. Other than that, SirenNet happens every Saturday at noon with the useful reporters. I know Galen's got 44 sirens. Norman's got 69. If Noble's got at least 5, I'm 7 now, and then Newcastle's got 5 and growing. So I think everybody's is it growing? Newcastle.
Somebody knows.
6. So we need people, obviously, if you count the heads around the room, you'll find out we don't add up, so. Always lots of sirens to monitor, they do appreciate our service in monitoring, by all means.
I have a question, not about crossbanding, don't worry. I'm gonna ask a question on behalf of Billy. He has volunteered to monitor a siren in nowhere,
right?
But for some reason, he's being skipped.
I'll go check the list real quick, because I know I call you every time. So I will make sure that somebody didn't accidentally bump you off the list.
Well, that's not it, they call that first guy and he says, siren 127, okay.
Yes, that's exactly.
Yeah, I'll check with Mike, that's what he's doing. Yeah, I'll check with Michael and see how he's getting that data, but
Well,
we can work that out.
and that's, the guy calls in and says siren 127 and Noble all sounding.
Okay. Now, if I did that, I would still call you, because I know you're out there.
We can report multiple.
Right. So don't feel, we can go ahead and call you anyway, because he can't, he might be getting it back from the police department, he's usually got a sign in there. But at the same time, we figured out the loud on the sirens. We'll make sure we pass that around to controllers if they still call. There's only the two of you at the moment.
Siren 4, Billy?
No, 5 now, I used to do 4.
Okay, well, we'll change it.
All right, we used to have a 6-meter and 10-meter net. Our net control operator retired, a few weeks ago before he passed, so. We are currently looking for a 6-meter and a 10-meter net control operator for the nets. 6 meters are on Monday evenings and 10 meters are on Wednesday evenings. So if anybody wants to kind of pick that ball up and run with it, that would be awesome. Denny, do you feel like covering the gossip and MacNet? Can you go ahead and cover it for you? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, MacNet is every morning, Monday through Saturday, with the exception of club meeting days at 9 o'clock in the morning. Just a fun net to check in. You kind of check in. If you want to talk, you talk. If you don't, you just check in. We've had close to up to 40 on some of those check-ins. Then we have the Aries net on Tuesday evenings, and that is at 8 o'clock. We just make sure that your equipment is working properly, and then we have the Gossip Net, which Denny is one of the net control operators for that. That is on Tuesday evenings after the Aries Net, usually around 8:30. If the Aries Net doesn't run long. Then we have the Aries DMR Net every Monday at 8:15 p.m. We've had people checking in from all of that for that. Rob, you want to cover the McLean County?
Yeah, so our McLean County Aries, bunch has a net on Wednesday evenings at 8 o'clock on David's repeater right now. We've been doing that analog, except the 4th Wednesday of the month. We did digital. We might be changing that here, it sounds like. So, more to come, and we'll update. We'll make sure we get that updated. But we have added a section in the net where people can practice sending radiograms, sending and receiving radiograms. They don't go anywhere. They don't go into the NTS system. So if you want to practice, come join us. Three of us have done that so far. I think that's it.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
All right, I'm gonna let our youngest member of the club cover the KD5 UGO net.
All right, every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock on the UHF starter repeater, there's the KD5 UGO Memorial Net. We've been averaging what, 8 or 10, really, 12, 13. Always use more. It's a lot of fun. It's a good way to remember him. So yeah.
Yeah, the UGO net it's a 2-round net. Everybody checks in, and then we come back around and everybody can just talk about anything. So it's kind of entertaining sometimes. All right, I'm gonna stand next to Galen because I'm gonna ask him to cover a little bit on this, but August the 5th is the Moore Night Out. The Scars Club will have a table. We're gonna set up around 5 p.m. and we'll be right next to Galen's truck, not van. I've called it a van forever. I got corrected. But anyway, it'll run from about 7 to 9 p.m. It'll be hot, but it's always a fun time. Get to meet a lot of people. I'll let Galen kind of talk a little bit more about that.
So actually, everybody calls it a trailer. So yes, August 5th, Tuesday night, National Night Out, as observed in Moore. It's a national thing. There's a couple of different dates nationwide. We choose the one in August, so we don't conflict with the one in Norman. So all of us folks can do both. Norman's is in October, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah. But we choose the August date because we like to get hot, and it will be if it doesn't rain like it's been doing for the last 2 months. National Night Out is a big community event. It's in the parking lot of the Warren Theater right along I-35 between 4th and 19th Street. It is a great way to showcase amateur radio. There will be several thousand people in that parking lot. We will have to watch. We don't put our antennas up too high because we will be landing Channel 5's helicopter. Maybe the highway patrols, I don't know who else is coming, but there will be, everything there is free, including the food and the drinks, so, come out and, we'll make sure, as Mike said, the SCAR's setup will be right next to the mobile command vehicle. That's probably somewhere near the cops too, so, come out and, let's show off amateur radio.
Thank you, Galen. And then Mark was gonna make a mention about, Hempfest real quick.
I'm gonna add real quick to Galen's, on the morning, night out, the national night out. That is the Tuesday evening. And we will not have Elmer Night live here in the building. We are gonna have it on Zoom, and anybody else that would like to come out and participate in that, please do. If you have an idea for a radio setup or something to do with amateur radio that you'd like to show off to the public, that's what we do, is show everything we can do for them. So let us know, let Mike know or myself know, or, and what we'll do is we'll add you in on that. We're gonna set up a couple of tables, and like we did before, and show off our equipment, talk about amateur radio to the public. We do get some response from them, so that's important for us. But yeah, just remember, put that on your notes that we won't have the building open here, but we will have Zoom going on Tuesday night. Now, as far as Hamfest coming up, we got the 1 and 2 weeks. Tables are going fast. I'm running out of tables for that Hamfest, which is a good thing. But if you think that you want to get a table, bring some of your equipment in a closet or something you don't use, and you think, hey, I can sell that. Newer hams are coming along, they're looking for equipment. There's your way to sell it. Do it. Get online to hamholiday.com, buy you a table, and do that. The Ardmore one is open. You can go to the Ardmore's, our Hamfest, Hamorama Hamfest, and get your tables early. And it's open to do that. You can get your entry tickets, you can get your special tickets, you can get the tables. Thanks.
Are the club gonna have a table?
No.
I'm gonna make another pitch about Elmer's Night. Elmer's Night, that's what drew me into the club. It's just a good time. If you have trouble with radios, antennas, there's usually somebody here that can, digital, there's usually somebody here that can either help or point you the right direction. But I'll tell you what, the friendships I have made, like just coming up here, we don't always talk radios. Margaret may be talking cookies, guitars, we talk about all kinds of things. We have made some wonderful friendships just coming up to hang out. So if you've never come, come give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. And then it's been the last month, I was able to go to the McDonald's down in Norman at 9 o'clock in the morning for the, it's not the MacNet, but it's in lieu of the MacNet, the actual in-person McDonald's coffee. Some fun conversations there. Some of these guys will jerk your chain and, it's fun. I've really enjoyed it, being around. Yes.
I will put a plug in for the McLean County group over there. I've been going to their breakfast on Wednesday mornings. It's at 8 o'clock at the Jimmy's Egg there in Newcastle. That's a lot of fun too. And it's amazing what you learn as far as different types of radios and setups and so forth. Just going to these breakfasts. So if you can't get a chance to go each day to the McDonald's down here, and you live further over on the west side there, stop by over there on Clay County.
What's that?
What time?
Wednesday, and that
8
starts at 8 a.m. The one at McDonald's in Norman at Lindsay McGee starts at
About 8:30.
About 8:30?
Everybody gets their day from 8:30 to 9.
Yeah, and if you ever want to just go to the McDonald's down there in Norman and get made fun of, Dean will make sure that he can take care of that. He's a lot of fun. We do have some business. I'm going to turn the mic over to Larry.
Okay, as a AARL affiliated club, we are eligible to get a commission on first time memberships. If you've never been a membership before, can get $15. And renewals are $2. But as a club, we are financially doing great. As the AARL, they are struggling for money. Every year, they're hurting to meet their budgets. So the executive meeting, we visited. We would like to make a motion that we do not participate in the commission program. That we encourage all the members to buy their membership from AARL. We can get you the paperwork, we can help you with that, but as a club, we recognize that the AARL is in more need of that money. So we'd like to put it as a motion, with someone that. we
Yeah,
don't-
so essentially what he's saying is the club.
Microphone.
So essentially what Larry's saying is the club, we can gather a little bit of income off of new members to the ARRL or renewing members to the ARRL if they do it through the club. What he's recommending is maybe instead of us taking that little bit of money that we get to them, let the ARRL keep their money. Do we have anybody that will make a motion to do that? We've got a motion here. Do we have a second? We've got Galen. Galen's trailer. We got a second. All right, so we didn't get that moved. So, all right, very good. Got a vote? Do we have a vote? All in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, we're good. Motion passed.
Mike,
Yes.
can we still sign up, or can we still renew at the Ham Fest?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right. Do we have any other business at all? Anything that I overlooked, missed, ignored? What?
What's for lunch?
What's for lunch? You don't want to come to me because, well, I'll probably have tofu or something. All right. Anybody else have any questions, comments, or anything at all? All right. Thank you all for coming. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
We should have a decision on the fire and sales, and I think we'll lean toward.
Bye, y'all. Have a good night. Good day.